Yep, so
Yeah.
all of them have been recorded. They're on the YouTube
Okay.
channel. Yeah. And then I have my notes also if you want to look at them. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our third summer workshop series presentation. Tonight we're talking about better recovery with electrolytes. So a caveat before we get started, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a chemist or a biologist. I may not be able to answer certain health questions that come up tonight. So if you have any health specific questions, I encourage you to write them down and talk to your doctor. But I will do my best to give you the research that I found, the studies, the most recent studies that have come out, and some basic also high school biology class information. So
that you remembered or researched?
both. It's like I knew the name of it, and I was like, what is the calcium or the potassium sodium pump? I remember that. So then I had to like look it up. But you're gonna learn about all that tonight. So first, before we get going into content, your main takeaway tonight, if you remember nothing else, is that water is good, but water alone is not sufficient. Electrolyte balance is key. Too much or not enough, both will feel like crap. So water is great, but water alone is not sufficient for your hydration needs. And we'll talk a little bit about why that is. So that's your main takeaway. If you remember nothing else, if you want to get up and leave, you've got the main thing. Before we get into other things, I'd love to know what you all, actually, I won't write this down. You can write this down for yourself on your paper. What brought you to this one tonight? Why did you pick the electrolyte class? What questions do you have? And what have you heard about electrolytes or hydration or recovery that you want to share with us? Go ahead and write those things down. What brought you here tonight? What questions you have and what have you heard? And we'll start with that. Anyone want to share what you've heard or what questions you have? At least the questions so I know what I need to answer.
I don't actually have any questions.
Okay.
I may.
Yeah,
As
great.
we go along, but I don't have any ahead.
Perfect.
But I guess why I came is the recovery piece. I mean, I hydrate well during,
Yeah.
but I'd like to hear about the hydration afterwards.
Yeah, great.
And I guess I just never really looked up anything about hydration. So I was like, sure.
Yeah, hear more about it. Perfect. I love that.
So for me, to begin with, I don't drink enough.
Okay.
And I think that's a lifelong bad habit that started me. I was a professional dancer a long time ago, and you just did not, part of it was weight loss. You didn't, move, you just did not drink. And so I'm trying to do better, but then moving to Colorado, I definitely find that I need to drink more. And I don't get migraines, I get optical migraines.
Okay.
And I find if I don't drink, it's like wavy lines and whatever. And then when I've been working out, like the trainer that I've been working out, he said, water is fine, but electrolytes you really should be taking. And I've always been hesitant, like I'm not one to take a lot of like vitamins, or I like to sort of eat like healthy. So I've always been a little suspect, about why electrolytes and I've never been one that Gatorade or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm hearing kind of want to know what electrolytes there are, but also supplements versus natural food sources.
Right.
What the function of electrolytes is beyond just water, and then also just the fact that we live in Colorado and it's super dry and the air itself sucks the water out of us, like that scene from The Mummy when he sucks all the water out and that person's just like a dry shell. I feel that way sometimes here. Absolutely. Tangi, what about you, friend?
So I know very little about electrolytes, except for what mommies are told when their babies are sick.
Okay.
You need to give them Pedialyte, you need extra electrolytes, like they're growing up or they're sick.
Yeah.
Or have kids in sports and told bring Gatorade, they need their electrolytes, but I don't know
Like why? Yeah.
So I mean that's pretty much the extent of what I know
Totally
about electrolytes. They're important, but
Yeah. We know they're important when you're sick or when you're dehydrated or when you're working out and you're sweating a lot, or breathing a lot, or when you're hot, right? But like, what do they do? So you've come to the right place.
I do actually have a question.
Yeah.
Not, you can save it for later, but like that stuff,
Yeah, element.
the sodium thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, but I use Noom a lot.
Yeah.
And I know that especially if I'm like sweating profusely and doing certain exercises, that stuff's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of sodium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that tastes like shit, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm
It tastes
curious.
like salt water.
Yeah, so I guess I'm curious about the whole sodium thing, which you might touch on at some point.
Yeah, we're actually going to talk a lot about sodium
Okay.
tonight. Because the sodium is a big electrolyte, but it's also been implicated in some health problems. Like you'll hear, like when I got diagnosed with my heart condition, they told me to go on a low salt diet. And we'll talk about why that is a little bit from what I know from the research that I could find. Obviously, again, I'm not a doctor. The things I tell you today should not supersede or override what your medical professional has told you for your health. But we'll talk a little bit why, like the pros and cons of sodium and what it does. One of our main takeaways tonight is that balance is key. So too much or too little of something will make you feel equally gross and crappy. Too much sodium or too little sodium will make you are equally not good for you. So it's all about balance. And depending on how much electrolytes you lose through sweat or breathing or vomiting or diarrhea if you're sick, you need to replenish those electrolytes. But there are times you lose a lot and there are times you don't lose a lot. Like at your desk, you're not losing a lot of electrolytes. You don't need to replenish with like French fries. But football players at halftime will drink pickle juice because it is super salty and has vinegar in it, which can help with some other digestion things. And like they need those electrolytes so much more than like when I'm sitting at home. So it kind of depends on what you're using and how you're using it and when you're losing it, how to replenish it. But we'll talk all about that. So tonight we are going to talk about who needs electrolytes, what they are, where they come from, how they work, why they're important, and when you need them. So we're going to answer what teachers like to call the 5 W's and an H. So, or the 6 W's. This how also has a W, but it's at the end. I feel like that's pushing it. Everybody's there. Okay. But first, to get your brain going, we are going to watch a little clip from one of my most favorite movies of all time, which is
Have a magic school bus again?
no, we did Magic School Bus last time about the gut biome. That's pretty funny. We're going to do the movie Idiocracy. We're going to learn a little bit about electrolytes.
The hell is this? Tastes like Gatorade. Is that Brondo stuff? They're watering crops with a sports drink?
Rondo the Thirst Mutilator had come to replace water virtually everywhere. Water, the basic component of all life, had been deemed a threat to Brondo's profit margin. The solution came during the budget crisis of 2330, when the Brondo Corporation simply bought the FDA and the FCC. Them to say, do, and sell anything they wanted. Joe didn't know any of this, but he did see a problem that he might actually be able to solve. With his options running out, Joe took a bold step. He would not get out of the way. This time, he would lead.
For the last time, I'm pretty sure what's killing the crops is this Brondo stuff.
But Brondo's got what plants crave. It's got electrolytes.
So wait a minute. What you're saying is that you want us to put water on the crops.
Yes.
Water. Like out the toilet?
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be out of the toilet, but yeah, that's the idea.
But Brondo's got what plants crave.
It's got electrolytes.
Okay, look. The plants aren't growing, so I'm pretty sure that the Brondo's not working. Now, I'm no botanist, but I do know that if you put water on plants, they grow.
Oh, well, I've never seen no plants grow out of no toilet.
Hey, that's good. You sure you ain't the smartest guy in the world?
Yeah.
Okay, look, you want to solve this problem. I want to get my pardon, so why don't we just try it, okay? And not worry about what plants crave.
Brondo's got what plants crave.
Yeah, it's got electrolytes.
What are electrolytes? Do you even know?
It's what they use to make Brondo.
Yeah, but why do they use them to make Brondo?
Because Brondo's got electrolytes.
Brondo's got electrolytes.
Go find.
All right, we'll stop there. So I hope you know what electrolytes are now, and we're done, right? They're what plants crave. So I love that. Every time we talked, I've been working on this electrolytes thing, I've been thinking, what plants crave? So Brondo is not what plants crave though, at all. But why not? So let's think about high school biology class. We're gonna travel back in time. Do you remember about plant cells and animal cells? And how plant cells and animal cells are different?
Mhm.
Plant cells get their energy from
Or
sun, chlorophyll, photosynthesis. Plant cells get their water from, yep, through their root system, right? Totally different from human animals. That's us, we are animal cells. We have a whole different system for energy and hydration, and a big part of that system is electrolytes. So let's determine what the word electrolyte means. So it's broken into two parts, which always reminds me of an SNL skit I'll tell you about later. Electro and light. So electro means electricity, and light is LYTE is Latin for a substance that can be broken down, typically in fluids, or can be dissolved. So electrolytes are minerals that carry an electric charge when dissolved in your blood. So now we're going to get into chemistry class. So we're going to draw some things. Don't worry, I'll draw with you. You're going to know so much about electrolytes by the end of this. Okay, so obviously electrolytes are a substance that can be broken down. The main minerals that are electrolytes are sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, and chloride. So I'll say those again. Sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, and chloride. How many of those sound familiar and how many are surprising to you? Chloride, yeah.
Surprising.
Yeah.
I might be
Fluoride's fruity.
thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, chloride.
Yeah, totally. You'll see it a lot of like pill bottles will say like calcium chloride. Like it's like a joint compound basically. Chloride goes with a lot of things, sodium chloride, those kinds of things. Which ones have you heard of before that you're like, oh, I know that's an electrolyte?
But electrolytes.
Yeah.
Those 5 things are electrolytes. Electrolytes aren't one thing in and of themselves.
Yes, exactly. So electrolytes are a category of minerals that carry an electric charge that break down and dissolve in the fluid in your body. Are you feeling tingly? You're like, oh my gosh, how come these things don't zap you when you touch them? We'll talk about that. So we're going to focus tonight on sodium and potassium, and we'll touch briefly on magnesium as well.
Oh, see, that's why bananas are good for you to work out, because they have potassium.
Nailed it. 2 points for
So a
Tangy.
banana is an electrolyte.
Banana is not electrolyte. Potassium is electrolyte. Banana is a source of electrolytes. Yeah. Yes. Good. Awesome. Any other ahas? Things that are. Ooh. Okay, but
So the thing is, like, I eat, like, I eat just bananas, like after I work out.
Yeah.
So like, if you eat, eat versus drink.
Mhm. Either way,
Okay.
it all becomes liquid in your stomach anyway. Yeah. Great question. Now, the speed at which a thing can enter into your bloodstream can depend on how much fiber is in the way. So that's why like protein shakes will get into your bloodstream a lot faster than a steak will. The protein will get used much more quickly because it's easier for your stomach to take it, extract it, and process it when it's just in like a liquid, low fiber form.
So is it a little bit different because it's minerals that are dissolved in water versus like if you're vitamins, like when you eat, I know that like if you're eating like vitamins versus taking a vitamin pill,
Mhm.
that one of the things is how the vitamins get disperse in your body.
Mhm.
The thing is they have found that like, the pills don't do, they're not right.
Right, because they
They
can,
come out in different parts of your body.
yeah,
whatever.
they'll flush
So-
out.
So if you're drinking like a mineral, so that's different, it's different because it's liquid.
So the electrolyte is dissolved in any fluid. So it actually has a charge when it's dissolved in your blood.
Oh, okay.
That's the fluid that where it starts to make the exchanges in the cell, the fluid that's around all of your cells as it travels through your bloodstream.
Okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be in water. There's a lot of research around vitamins not really being soluble in your body because there's so much of it and it travels through your system so fast and doesn't give your system a chance to pull it out, process it. So having fiber helps slow the process down, but it also sometimes you want the process to go fast. So like protein, sometimes you want the process to go fast because you want that to get into those muscles that you just used really quickly versus like vitamin C, you want to kind of sit and be processed for a while with the fiber from an orange. It gives your body all the time it needs to extract all that vitamin C out. Yeah, it's a little bit, I'm not a doctor.
No.
That's my best
No,
understanding,
But
yeah.
to me, that makes sense because like I was trying to figure out the difference between vitamins versus electrolytes.
Yeah,
And how.
yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of electrolytes and vitamins work together, which we'll talk about
Okay.
too. Yeah. All right. So it's obvious that we eat these things and they go into our bodies, right? And they are dissolved because our body is mostly water and fluid. It's dissolved in there and moves around the cells and does things. But the less obvious thing I think that's interesting is the electricity piece. So our bodies are little batteries and they use electricity all the time and they generate electricity all the time. So our neurons use electrical impulses to communicate with each other and send signals to our brain. Those signals are responsible for our sensation, our senses, our organs, our thinking. Every time you reach for something, your brain is using electrical current to send a message to your hand to make it do stuff. So electricity is really important for the function of our body. Electricity is also really important for your heart. Your heartbeat is dependent upon rhythmic electrical impulses in your heart's upper chambers that pass through to the bottom that make them contract in a pattern. Upper chamber, lower chamber, upper chamber, lower chamber. So a lot of rhythmic pulsing of electricity happens in our body. And we need electrolytes to power that current. In fact, our body generates energy through these reactions, through muscle contractions, approximately 100 watts of output at rest and 400 watts of output during exercise. We use a lot of this energy for ourselves. The energy is used to power your body, but we also release a lot of it as heat. That's why we get hot when we work out. We're literally like hot little batteries burning up. So let's talk about how that works, because I don't know about you, but when I was reading about this, I was like, if it was electricity, like how is it electricity? I'm not like, I don't conduct, I'm like, yeah, am I zappy? Like like I know about static electricity, but this is actually chemical electricity. So we're going to talk a little bit about your cells. So this is where we're going to draw. So the main two electrolytes we're going to talk about for this part is the sodium and the potassium, because they operate in a system called a sodium-potassium pump through your cells. So I want you to draw a cell, a big circle. That's a cell. There are lots of things outside of your cell and lots of things inside of your cell. Do you remember any of the things that are inside of a cell? There's a nucleus, yeah. What else? Remember the other things? The nucleus has the DNA in it.
There's positive and negative ions.
Yes. Do you know what those positive and negative ions are? They're sodium and potassium.
Okay.
The ions you're talking about are electrolytes. So most of the cells in our body are negatively charged inside, and they like it that way. So I'll put a big minus symbol inside my cell, however you want. Looking more and more like a donut, which is exciting. And everything outside of the cell is typically positively charged or more positively charged than negatively charged. So if you have 4 negatives inside the cell and 4 negatives outside of it, or 4 positives outside of the cell, they cancel each other out, right? So there has to be a way to maintain this imbalance where because the cell is happy in this negative charged state and the fluid outside of the cell is happy in this positively charged state. So these little positive guys, imagine they're like, you ever play like those the Brillo train sets with the magnets that stick the trains together? And if you put the wrong train, they won't stick. They repel each other. The positives repel each other. The negatives repel each other, but a positive and negative want to be together. So these guys want to be together. They love each other so much. They really want to be together, but they have to cross the cell membrane to do it. So the cell membrane's job is to keep them apart. No, don't do it. But there's holes. There's holes that little tiny ions can sneak through. So what the cell always has to do is move things in and out. So what it does is it has a thing called a pump. So I want you to draw like a door in your cell membrane. I don't know, I kind of drew it like this. You can draw however you want. You can draw French doors, you can draw a steel door, you could draw a dungeon door, you can draw lines, whatever you want. And the cell takes 3 sodiums, so draw 3 circles with a plus sign in them. Where? On the inside of the cell, I'm sorry. 3 sodiums on the inside of the cell. They're all positively charged. So you see how now we have too many positives and the cell is no longer negatively charged because we have too many positives in there.
Sodium.
Yes, Na is sodium and K is potassium. If you guys want to do chemistry stuff. So there's too many positives in here. So the cell actually pumps the sodiums out through this pump and exchanges them for 2 potassiums. Potassiums are also positively charged, which is interesting. But that means that instead of 3 positives inside the cell, it trades these 3 positives for 2 positives, making it just a little less positive. And that's what the cell is always trying to do, is take the sodium, send it out, and bring the potassium in to keep itself from getting too positive. It's like Eeyore in there. Eeyore will hang out with Piglet, but then Eeyore needs to take a break. Too positive. I need to like take my negative space and be negative. So what this does is it changes the overall charge of the cell from positive to negative to positive to negative to positive to negative. The other thing that changes things, the overall charge from something to positive to negative to positive to negative, is a light switch. Positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. So it builds a chemically electrical charge that allows things to happen. So when the cell goes pump, 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 the muscle goes ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, and starts to contract and do things. Or it will send, a neuron actually is a really long cell, and it'll go positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, like a wave all the way down to the next one. And that is how we think. Little waves of positives and negative charges changing all the time.
So I'm gonna be more brilliant if I drink more electrolytes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Take
What
that.
did you say?
She can be brilliant if she takes more electrolytes. Yes. So the imbalance of the positive and negative charge always switching is called action potential. If you remember that word. It opens up other channels and pumps because there's lots more than just this pump on a cell. There's lots of other cells. It opens up other channels and pumps, which flood other positive ions into the cell, which then get pumped out back and forth and back and forth. So if we don't have enough sodium or potassium, this can't happen as well, right? Everything we do in life is powered by these little teeny tiny atoms going back and forth in and out of the cell, changing the charge back and forth. And it's how our body works.
Isn't it, I mean, it's common in a US diet to have too much sodium.
Absolutely.
So what does that end up doing?
Great question. We're going to talk about what the imbalances do and why that matters for sure. Before we get to that, we're gonna talk about magnesium as well. So that's sodium and potassium. That's what they do. That's why we need them. But if we have too much of them, that can cause problems. If there's a bunch of sodium already out here and the pump tries to pump those 3 sodiums out, it will push them back up. But they won't go. The other thing that happens is there's teeny tiny holes. The potassium ion is smaller than the sodium ion, and the potassium ion they'll get put in here, but they'll sneak out the back door. They'll escape and have to get pumped back in. So there's like a little the cell is constantly trying to catch up to itself by getting the sodium out and the potassium in. It's like trying to recharge itself, and potassium's like sneaking away. So it's this constantly moving system that doesn't really stop, which makes sense because we never stop being alive until we're dead, right? There's always things happening in our cells at all times, and that's this little guy doing this little job. Let's talk about magnesium really quick before we go on to low and high electrolytes and what they do. Because you've all probably heard of magnesium, right? What have you heard magnesium does?
It helps brain function.
Yeah, brain function,
Sleep.
sleep, yeah. What about muscle recovery? Have you heard about like soreness with
Isn't
magnesium?
that the stuff you take it back then?
Yeah, the magnesium, like the Epsom salts.
Yeah.
Epsom salts have mostly magnesium, and then that's the salt that's in it. It's not like kitchen salt. It's magnesium. So magnesium is a positively charged ion, just like sodium and potassium are. It also flows around in your blood and the fluid in your cells, but it works with calcium and gets stuck in your bones often. And stuck is a good thing. Magnesium is a big part of bone health. Magnesium activates vitamin D in your body so that it can be used by your body, because vitamin D in its original form is not useful for your body. Magnesium joins with it and converts it to something useful. Vitamin D and calcium, as we know, work together. How often do we see calcium pills that are like calcium and D3, right? Calcium and vitamin D work together. Oh, Elijah's here. It's our ghost. Elijah. So magnesium and vitamin D and calcium work together for bone health. It also supports nerve and muscle function because it does the same thing. It's not part of the sodium potassium pump, but it does similar things by moving in and out and around and grabbing onto stuff and moving it around. Kind of like, it's like, come on, vitamin D, we're going to go make this, we're going to go convince calcium to get in this bone and make this bone stronger. So it does a lot of that stuff. Magnesium also helps regulate your blood pressure and your sugar levels. And from a recovery standpoint, magnesium helps relax your muscles while stimulating protein synthesis and muscle repair. So when you do a really hard workout and you take magnesium before you go to bed at night, it's actually while you're sleeping, not only is it relaxing those muscles, it's helping repair and synthesize new muscle proteins in those muscles. So it's helping your body recover, not just from a soreness or a tiredness standpoint, but from a literal muscle building standpoint.
So when you take a bath, it literally permeates all the layers of your skin to get all the way to your muscles.
That is a great question. There's a lot of conflicting research about skin absorption of magnesium. So I don't know. There are studies that say it works, studies that say it don't. People who swear by a magnesium spray on the bottom of your feet, I don't know. I take mine orally because I mix it with collagen protein before I go to bed at night, because then I don't get heartburn at night with a little bit of protein in my stomach, and it makes me sleepy. Magnesium actually, they think, doesn't just make you sleepy like melatonin would, but it actually regulates melatonin and cortisol. So it really helps you keep a really good sleep-wake cycle. So not only will it help you relax at night with that melatonin, it'll help regulate your cortisol cycle, which helps you be more awake during the day.
That's your cortisol is your stress.
It is a stress hormone, yes. But it's also what helps you wake up and be awake. Yeah,
So
cortisol itself isn't bad. It's too much cortisol that it's bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
that helps.
So
Yes.
for magnesium,
Mhm.
because I take magnesium and calcium.
Yeah.
I take calcium.
Yeah.
But I take it in the morning.
Yeah, that's fine.
I was just wondering, so I don't need it for sleep, but I like the idea of sleeping better. So
Yeah.
would it matter, you think, if I took it at night?
Not really. It doesn't work the way melatonin works. So melatonin is a time it like releases in your body and is used for sleepiness. Magnesium actually regulates the melatonin and the cortisol relationship throughout the day. So it helps you be awake when you need to be awake and be sleepy when you need to be sleepy. So it regulates that whole cycle. And again, there's lots of things that regulate that cycle. Magnesium is not a one-stop shop miracle cure for anything, but it does help with those things. So you asked earlier, what happens if we have not enough, right, of the electrolytes? So your initial problems that you're going to feel when your electrolytes are low are fatigue, muscle spasms, like the cramp. You ever get that cramp where someone's like, eat a banana?
Yeah.
Yeah. Low electrolytes. Potassium is an electrolyte and you're low in it. But it might be not the electrolyte you're needing. Maybe you need sodium, maybe you need magnesium, maybe you need calcium. Hard to know. So first you're going to get fatigue and muscle spasms. Then you might get deeply dehydrated if you're low in sodium. You, from there, may get nauseous or vomit. And in the end, the more severe symptoms are coma, seizures, those kinds of things. So because the electrolytes work in all your cells in your body the same way, this could be a muscle cell, this could be a brain cell, this could be a blood cell, this could be a skin cell. Any of your body can be deeply affected when your electrolytes are low. They have to be really significantly low for you to get to like the seizure point, right? So, but you'll see people you'll see athletes get really dehydrated and faint, or have really low electrolytes and like run off the field and vomit on the in the bench or whatever, right? Because their electrolytes are super low and their body is like freaking out. Is vomiting going to help them stay hydrated? No, but the body is freaking out. Interesting tidbit that I thought was powerful to know about magnesium specifically is that alcohol ruins your body's relationship with magnesium, and low magnesium is highly correlated with people who have high alcohol consumption or who are alcoholics. So lots of times people who are alcoholics or drink a lot of alcohol will have low magnesium levels because they can't metabolize and use the magnesium like they should be able to. And alcoholism chronically dehydrates you in general because it is a diuretic. It makes you pee a lot, or if you get very drunk, it makes you vomit. So be aware that when you're drinking alcohol, which is not a bad thing to do necessarily, just know that you may need to supplement with some magnesium the next day, or in your hangover cure, have some magnesium in whatever source. And we're going to go through some good sources of those things. So remember I said before that magnesium and potassium and sodium and all electrolytes are minerals. The best source, besides these supplements, which we'll talk about, is on the other side of your paper, which Alex has already flipped to, which is a list of mineral-rich foods. So these are all foods that have a ton of minerals in them. You'll notice that salty foods are not on here. Americans typically have a high sodium diet because of the processed foods we eat. Processed foods have a lot of sodium because salt tastes good. So these are going to be your high magnesium, high potassium, natural sources of fruits and natural sources from fruits and vegetables and grains. Go through and cross out the ones you think are gross. Which I saw you do, which I love. Circle the ones you like. And then if there are other foods that you know of that are rich in minerals, feel free to write them down, because this is not a comprehensive. Oh, good. Then you probably got some good electrolytes on board. So for your day-to-day life, these food sources of electrolytes are really important, and they're going to be sufficient. Where they might not be sufficient is when you're in a situation where you're sweating and breathing a lot. Your two main ways of getting dehydrated in a healthy way, healthy normal dehydration, is breathing and sweating. You lose so much moisture from breathing. I get dry. You get a dry throat when you talk a lot because you're breathing out all of your moisture in your body. You also get dehydrated when you sweat, where you lose the electrolytes and the water through your sweat. Vomiting and diarrhea are unhealthy ways to get dehydrated. They're abnormal ways you get dehydrated. So, but whatever situation you're in where you might get dehydrated in a rapid way through sweating a lot and breathing a lot, a supplement can be helpful because it can rebound your system. So drinking an element or another sort of electrolyte supplement additive, electrolyte based drinks can be really helpful when you've done a workout where you're sweating a lot, or if you're hiking and it's hot and you're sweating a lot. It's going to be much more sufficient to rehydrate your body when you're being rapidly dehydrated using a supplement. When you're being normally dehydrated through life, day-to-day life, food is great. But if you're being rapidly dehydrated through sports, athletics, sweating a lot, vomiting, diarrhea, having a supplement is going to help. Gatorade is a tricky one because Gatorade has a lot of sugar in it, which doesn't necessarily help you in other ways. And sugar-free Gatorade has things like sucralose and xylitol and stevia, which not everybody does well with. I have a friend who's allergic to stevia.
And dye.
And all the
Yeah.
dyes. Yep. There's all kinds of stuff.
Nasty.
Yeah. There are, as you can see with this is a lot. There's 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. That is a lot of sodium. That's why it tastes salty. You can find other drink mixes that have a little less sodium and a little more potassium, magnesium. Know that these aren't one-to-one though. Your body doesn't need equal amounts of all three of these. Your body has different needs of each of these. So remember, we have 3 sodiums going out and 2 potassiums going in. So we need more sodium than we need potassium for that system to work. Magnesium operates a little differently. That's the extent of my knowledge on why you need different ratios, but I know your body needs different ratios. So,
But then how does that work if salt makes you retain water, and then the people who are trying to lose weight, but then they can't, like, how does that all?
yeah, great question. Let's go on to sodium. So I made a whole section on sodium on here because sodium is complicated. But before we do that, does anyone want to share foods that they notice on the list that they eat a lot, or that they're like, oh, I could easily add that into my diet? Any foods, any of your top foods that popped out for you on the list?
Avocados, broccoli, carrots.
Avocados, broccoli,
almonds,
carrots, almonds.
Bananas, watermelons, spinach, kale.
Alex is reading the list.
Yeah,
Pretty
like, I feel the
much
same
like-
way.
Everything but yams.
Yeah, just like, yeah. that's-
Any foods on here that surprised you? I know we talk about bananas being the source of potassium, but sweet potatoes have a lot of potassium in them.
So, like, the thing is, like, it's interesting, because like, I will make, like, I am like really funny about drinking stuff, but I will make, watermelon, like, I will right at the end of the day. But you squeeze watermelon juice and make it with, lime.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I didn't think about that. So that would be.
Yeah,
So-
watermelon is a great source of minerals. Yeah,
That was.
a lot of potassium. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of potassium in watermelons. They're a good one for the summer. Did you guys cross any out that you're like, I will never eat this? I don't care if you tell me it cures cancer. I'm not eating
I
it.
mean,
Yes.
I don't do avocado when I get beat up for it. I don't like it.
There you go.
It's what it is.
My mom doesn't like avocado either.
I know, but people are like, God, what's wrong with you?
It's because there's a lot of Californians here.
It's just green with, it's green and the consistency is mainly what.
Right. No green
But I
gooey
think that
foods.
consistency is a big thing for it. Just all different kinds of things like mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like mushrooms either.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, they're kind of squishy and dark.
Squishy, dark things. We don't like it. What about you, Tangi?
I just don't care for TV.
Yeah, there you go.
I won't choose to eat it, but
Mhm.
it's on in a fruit salad,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I
I'll eat
eat
it.
everything.
but then everything else is.
Yeah. So it sounds like a lot of you are already eating a lot of these things, which is great. So your day-to-day electrolytes are probably getting met, your electrolyte needs. It's those rapid dehydration moments, like when we're here at the gym or you're hiking or things like that. So
Well, it's interesting, you just, and I don't know, I just did not click. You said the day-to-day electrolytes.
yeah,
Because I think I do fine with when I'm doing activities, but I never thought of the day-to-day besides water.
yeah. So that's why a lot of these foods are great sources of electrolytes, because you do need electrolytes all the time, because your body is using those electrolytes to function cellularly all the time. But you don't have to supplement with rapid doses of electrolytes unless you are rapidly dehydrating, because literally the electrolytes are in the fluid in your body and they come out in your sweat. Like your sweat is salty. Like, have you ever tasted someone's sweat? You know, in a moment. It's salty for a reason. It's got electrolytes in
That's
it.
for another day.
It's got electrolytes in it.
I'm gonna have to hear that story.
Okay, that's gonna be that. We're thinking of another round of workshop series. Maybe we'll do one on tasting each other's salt. Okay, next, sodium. Sodium is complicated. There's been a lot of questions about sodium for a reason. The main symptom of low sodium is dehydration. Sodium bonds with the water cells in your blood and fluid around your cells and keeps it in your body longer. So your cells exist, they are full of fluid and they have fluid out here. So think of like a water balloon underwater in the bathtub, right? The sodium bonds to the water cells and keeps it around, keeps it in the cell, keeps it outside the cell, keeps it around. If you have low sodium, you lose water faster and your cells shrivel up. That can lead to things like headaches. Like Alex was mentioning headaches. Headaches often mean that you might have too low or too high sodium, because too much sodium will do the same thing as not enough sodium does. It's tricky. So low sodium can make you exceptionally dehydrated and sick. There are people who are like no salt diets, just fine, because there's naturally occurring electrolytes and salt in foods. Like Swiss chard is salty. It's like the best. But typically in the United States, we have much too high of sodium in our diets because everything processed that we eat has salt added. Drinking a ton of straight water. So if you run a marathon and you've sweated so much and you are just drinking regular water, you will flush the remaining sodium out of your system, which will leave you more dehydrated and feeling worse in the end. So that's why people say add electrolytes to your water, because if you're just drinking a ton of straight water, it can actually, because the sodium bonds to it, when you pee it all out, and then you're left with less.
So when that happens, sometimes don't you become like kind of delirious?
Mhm. Yeah, so a lot of the symptoms are very similar, but dehydration, vomiting, nausea, irritability, fatigue, those kinds of things, thirst, like the symptoms of dehydration, right? Or sunstroke. Those kind of go hand in hand. So when you drink a lot of alcohol and you break the seal, so to speak, pee and you pee and you pee and you pee, because alcohol makes you pee a lot, the water is flushing the sodium out of your body. It's taking the sodium that's bonded to it out of your body, which is why drinking makes you hungover, because you're dehydrated. And in Colorado, we're always dehydrated. So drinking makes us more drunk and then more hungover, because we're more dehydrated because we've peed all of our electrolytes out of our body, a lot of that being sodium because it bonds with the water. So if you drink a ton of water and then you pee a bunch, you have car washed the inside of your body out of needed sodium. Symptoms of high sodium, though, are very similar. Thirst, swelling, headaches, high blood pressure, which can cause headaches. Those happen because the sodium holds on to the water and doesn't let it process out, so everything's stuck and you bloat or you swell, or your blood pressure goes up because you're retaining fluid. So a lot of heart healthy diets are low salt diets because it's a blood pressure management system. We're trying to keep that blood pressure low by not retaining too much fluid. Beyond that, as you get really, really high sodium, restlessness, irritability, fatigue, muscle spasms, coma. It can get really bad if you are dosed with a ton of salt. People die from drinking salt water or brackish water because they have too much. So, brackish water, it's when fresh water and salt water from the ocean are mixed together, like on the coast. Like if there's a saltwater backflow into a river, and they drink salty water all the time, This is happening in Gaza right now where they don't have a lot of freshwater options. So they're drinking brackish water and they're getting very sick and dying because they are drinking salty water. So yeah. Okay, so when do you want to add sodium to your life? Just like electrolytes in general, anytime you're at the risk of rapid dehydration. So think of a time that you are going to be doing something this summer, which we have a couple weeks, depending on how you define summer, a couple weeks to a month and a half left of summer.
2 days.
What situations are you going to be in the next 4 to 6 weeks where you could rapidly get dehydrated? Not regular dehydration that happens throughout the day, but rapid dehydration. What do you think?
So working out.
Working out, yep.
Or
Especially
working
when
in
it's
the
hot in
garden,
here.
like
Working in the garden on a hot day.
harvesting.
End of summer heat harvesting. Yep. What other situations might you be in?
Backpacking, lots of verticals.
Hiking,
So-
backpacking. In backpacking, sometimes you are out and there's no trees and you are in the sun. Yep, happens a lot. Right? So what's something that you could do that maybe you haven't done before to protect your hydration when you are in those rapid dehydration situations? It's going to help you stay safe and also recover better.
Watermelon juice.
Watermelon juice. I love it. I think that's great.
Yeah, I always carry extra.
Extra
Like noon.
noon. Yeah, like a hydration supplement or like electrolyte supplement. Yep.
Yeah, I always have that in my afternoon.
Yep.
So what about like the things like a lot of times when I'm hiking or have is taking lemon. Like I'll take hot water and have lemon.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's I see orange here, but that's more vitamin C.
Yeah, lemon is going to be more acidic, but acidity the reason a lot of football players do pickle juice is because it has salt and vinegar in it. So it's salty and acidic. And the acidity actually helps you process the salt and retain the electrolytes. And it also protects your body from like stomach upset and things like that, actually.
Mhm.
So sometimes hot water with lemon can help your body use the electrolytes that it has more efficiently or better. Or like sometimes people put a little dash of salt and lemon in their hot water.
Okay.
Load up. Yep. Drink the olive juice in your martini. Don't just have it straight. Have a dirty martini. It's better for you. A dirty martini. Yeah. So put the olive juice in the martini with the olives. So good.
Those the water, the olives.
Yeah, it's salty. It's salty. You guys don't like olives? Oh my gosh, can I have all your olives?
I used to eat them as a kid.
I do too.
But like, so eating a pickle a day is a good idea.
Pickles are great for you in lots of ways. They have salt in them, which can be good if you're rapidly dehydrating. They have vinegar, which helps your body process those electrolytes. They're
Fermentation.
fermented, so they go back to our gut biome conversation from 2 weeks ago. They add the microorganisms and that you need for your gut biome, all that stuff.
So they should be on.
The probiotics.
These are magnesium.
Yeah, so these are not probiotic sources, these are electrolyte sources. Yes, but yes. Anything, Tangi, that you might add or change if you're doing a workout and it's really hot?
Adding new. So I drink 3 of these a day.
Yeah.
But it's just water. So maybe one of those 3. Does that still count as water?
Yes, it totally counts as water. It's better than water. Yeah, because it grabs onto the water and keeps it in your body. You don't lose it as quickly.
But I shouldn't drink 3 units a day.
No, use the supplements for when you have rapid dehydration.
Or during the workout or after?
Both. Whenever you're rapidly dehydrating. Yeah. Yeah.
So question on that.
Yeah.
I'm married to someone that drinks a lot of it. Because he doesn't like, he just doesn't always want to drink water.
Because he used it for flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why is that bad?
So he could get too much sodium in his diet. So too much sodium. So our main takeaway from today is that water is good, but water alone is not sufficient. And electrolyte balance is key. Too much electrolytes or not enough electrolytes will both impact you So he may, if he's not feeling well, or that some of the symptoms of high sodium are those headaches, blood pressure, restlessness, irritability, fatigue, being thirsty, those high sodium symptoms, if he's having those, he may want to talk to his doctor about getting his potassium, sodium, magnesium, calcium levels checked. And they check it with a blood test. And they'll tell him if anything's super high. I see it mostly in the men that we work with here who have high blood pressure because they have a lot of salt in their diet. And that can lead to other complications. But I don't know how your husband's blood pressure is. I haven't asked him.
No, it's,
No, there you go. Okay, so we are coming to the almost end. But before we do that,
a P chart.
let's talk about pee. I printed two of them. I could print more if you guys want them. But check, okay, wait, before you look at it, what do you know about pee?
The
Like-
darker, the not so good.
Dark is not good. Yes.
Clear isn't good either,
Clear isn't good either. Why not?
because
Too much water.
had too much one, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You guys are so smart. So here, you can share it or you can look at it. Here, you want to look at mine? I have it. So people have probably told you clear pee is the goal, but clear pee is not the goal. Clear pee means you are overhydrated, which means you have too much water without electrolytes. You have car wash rinsed the inside of your body clean. We need those things in there. So light yellow is optimal. Regular yellow, you're hydrated, but you could drink more water and be fine without flushing electrolytes. Dark yellow, it's time to drink water when you want to see the pee-pees. And then burnt orange, that really, really dark color, means you are lacking water and electrolytes. You need both. At that point, you are in the danger zone. I asked a doctor about hydration once because we work out in here a lot, we sweat in here a lot, and he said to me, if you have to pee after you work out, that's a good sign that you hydrated enough when you were working out. If you go home after you work out and you don't pee for like 4 hours, you probably didn't drink enough.
Oh my God, I can't even make it home.
Right. So that's good. That means you're hydrating enough when you work out.
I'm definitely.
Okay. Alex had an opposite reaction. Okay. So, and that hydration, when you are peeing, you are using the fluid in your body to bond with all of the waste products in the fluids of your body and flush those waste products out. So if you are dehydrated, those waste products are not being flushed. And if you are overhydrated, you are flushing all the waste, which is good, but also all the electrolytes, which is not good. So there's that balance thing, right? Electrolytes are about balance.
So if I had, say, 72 ounces of water, and I pee throughout the day, pee throughout the night, during the night,
Mm-hmm.
and I wake up in the morning, and my first pee is dark yellow,
Mm-hmm.
but is it because I've just peed out all the water? Like, because I would, to me, I would think, there's no way I've peed out 70 ounces of fluid.
Sure you have. Absolutely. Totally. If you pee what you listed like all day and multiple times in the night, absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
then you just restart all over again in the morning, that's okay.
Yeah, so most people's darkest pee is going to be first thing in the morning because you've been sleeping and your body processes and repairs you at night. So it's fixing things. It's like your kitchen remodel. Your body is doing your kitchen remodel at night and it creates dust and mess and it's got to flush all that out through your pee in the morning when you wake up. So it is doing its job of flushing you out, but you haven't been drinking water all night. So it's going to be darker as a result. It's not a bad thing. It just means you flushed a lot of waste and you need to rehydrate so you can continue to do that. Yeah. But if you're drinking so much water that you're unable to sleep at night, I would talk to your doctor. Because that might be something else that is above my level of knowledge and expertise.
So sometimes I wake up and I'm very dry and I need to drink.
Yes. Yeah, I sleep with my mouth open and I get really dry. I've started using mouth tape actually. Helps a ton. It helps a ton. Although the other day I pulled it off and I definitely ripped off like hair from my upper lip and I was like, oh,
It's dual purpose.
yeah,
Yeah,
I waxed
there you go,
myself
that
first
waxer.
thing in the morning. Exactly. Other questions or thoughts or things that are connecting for you?
I guess, I don't know if I knew about the clear pee. I don't think that happens to me very often.
Yeah. You know, people, I think I was raised being told that clear was a good thing.
Yeah.
That like you want your pee to be clear. If your pee is anything but clear, it means you're dehydrated. That is not the case. Clear pee means you have de-electrolyted yourself.
I actually knew that.
Yeah, I was raised very.
But the thing is interesting is like, you know, sort of working out, but from a yoga perspective, a lot of times there's certain yoga practices, they tell you, you need, you know, be sure to drink because you've been doing so many twists and turns or certain
Mhm.
types of practices. And they say, you know, in order to detox the body.
Yeah.
Make sure you drink after
Yes.
the class.
Yes, or like after a massage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Massage.
So that's when your body is releasing those waste products, those toxins that have been kind of stuck that you either literally physically twisted out or have been massaged out
Yeah.
of your skin and fat and muscular tissue. You want to make sure you're drinking water to flush those waste products out. Yeah, good point. Yeah. All right, so let's summarize what we talked about today. I didn't answer some of these questions directly, but I bet you can guess the answer. Who should be using electrolytes?
Me.
Everyone.
Everyone. Ooh, that pen is not the pen for us today. Maybe green. Everyone. What are electrolytes?
Minerals dissolved in fluids.
That's right. Minerals. They dissolve in fluid. And they have an electrical charge. Woo. Where can you get electrolytes from?
All these foods.
All these
Oh, so many
foods.
foods. Where else?
New
Supplements.
LMT supplements.
How do electrolytes work in your best summary?
Pumping.
Pumping.
There we go. I
Exchange.
was like, I'm getting ready to talk about pluses and minuses.
Yeah. Ion exchange. So it's all about charges, right? It's like the magnet Brillo trains. Because I have a 3-year-old nephew who plays a lot of trains. Why are electrolytes important?
Hydration.
They help with hydration. What else?
Muscle and brain function.
Especially heart function, because your heart literally is an electrical machine. Cell function. When should you take, drink, eat, whatever electrolytes?
All day, but especially after you lost stuff.
Yes, you should have
Rapid.
Yes.
Yep, daily,
Rapid
and
loss.
especially when you have rapid dehydration. Okay, are electrolytes what plants crave? No.
What
They're
was-
salts.
What was the name of the?
Idiocracy.
No, the
Rondo.
Rondo.
Yes.
What was it's sodium, potassium, chloride, magnesium.
Calcium. Yep. Awesome. Any other questions?
So for daily hydration, you would drink milk and eat yogurt? I guess. I don't know. I didn't.
For hydration?
Well, or I don't know. I never threw calcium in this with electrolytes. So
Yeah, isn't that
surprising, I
interesting?
guess.
Because calcium is
others,
totally
yeah.
electrolyte. It participates in that same cellular exchange, but it mostly lives in your bones. So it is a source.
So if you drink things
Bone.
like, if you have like a latte, and let's say a full milk,
Mhm.
you know, and you have something sort of a diuretic as well as
Yeah.
the calcium in that.
Yeah.
Is that impacted?
That's a great question. So I had a teacher once tell me that you should drink 2 cups of water. Like if you have 12 ounces of coffee, you should drink 2 cups of water. Like 2 12-ounce cups of water, like 2-to-1 ratio on caffeine to water, because caffeine is a diuretic. So caffeine as a diuretic will make you pee more later. So if you drink a latte that's caffeinated and has milk in it, which has calcium, your body's still going to take in and process that calcium. And later it's going to make you pee more, which will dehydrate you.
Got it.
So yeah, diuretics don't act as quickly. unless it's a diuretic pill, which will act very quickly. But there's other complications with caffeine besides that. Besides it being a diuretic, it's also stimulant, raises your blood pressure, raises your heart rate, makes you want to be awake at 5 a.m. Things that are good, but it's also acidic and can influence your stomach acid and things like that. It also relaxes your esophageal sphincter, which can cause heartburn and reflux. It's all kinds of things that it does. It does good things and it does bad things, just like everything. Balance is, I learned more about balance from doing research on this than anything else. Because I was like, wow, the symptoms for low sodium and high sodium are the same. You just feel terrible. So,
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, the too much sodium, I think you can just feel.
yeah.
I think the low sodium, you may not realize.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Shar, because when I got diagnosed with my heart condition, they were like, you need to go on like a heart diet, which is really, really low sodium. And then so I stopped drinking elements. I stopped adding salt to any of my food at home that I was cooking. I really don't eat processed foods anyway. So I was working out in here maybe like a week and a half later, and I was like, I was like, what? I just couldn't get my zhuzh. I was like, what is wrong with me? And I was like, you know what? I sweat a lot in here. And I know I'm supposed to be on a low sodium diet, but I'm just going to try a half an element and see what happens. And I felt immediately so much better. I think I had low sodium.
So with me, I just think when I was, well, the exact opposite on my
Yeah.
blood pressure, heart rate, and never eaten much processed food.
Mhm.
And, so when I was pregnant, I craved potato chips like all the time. And my doctor said, eat them, because it'll make you drink.
Yeah.
And it was that you've got to start drinking.
The salt will make you thirsty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because he said, you're not at risk, but you've got to start drinking.
Mm,
And so that I thought that was interesting because it was craving salt.
that is interesting. I wonder how often that happens, because that seems like potato chips are pretty common pregnancy craving, and pickles, which are also salty. Yeah. Oh, very interesting. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Like when you're pregnant, your body is using and operating in so much more liquid and so much more fluid is happening. You're got more blood, all of it. Like everything is increasing as you're creating a new person.
This is great.
Any other last questions before we wrap up? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. Good to see you all.
It's fun.